Hello, and welcome to My Digital Story. I'm Jason Gillikin with Triangle Direct Media, and on this podcast we talk about how websites evolve from a simple concept and a domain name to a thriving online business. We'll discuss the successes, the failures, and hopefully a few fun stories along the way. Today, we're with Todd Askins from TacticalDistributors.com. Tactical Distributors started in 2006, but at the time it was all wholesale. In fact, going back to the Wayback Machine from March of 2008, you'll see the website describe itself as a leading wholesale-only supplier of personal public safety, law enforcement, and homeland security products, offering a wide range of products by the leading manufacturers at the most competitive prices to dealers only. Now, Todd didn't start out with Tactical. Before coming on board, he had his own clothing line called Schmack.
I had a business. I started a T-shirt business, and it went from my parents, my first $3,000 investment to we were doing like $8 million a year. And then it failed in 2009, 2010 when the retail environment collapsed. So I had like a giant one, it was like, I was on top of the world, like Jay-Z and Family and Pharrell, like all these people were wearing my stuff, and it was on MTV all the time. And then, a year and a half later, like I was out of business, because we got stuck with like $1 million of inventory.
Using what he learned at Schmack, Todd bounced back in January 2010, coming on board as partner and e-commerce director of Tactical, spearheading the growth of the online part of the business. Tactical has grown quite a bit in those 8 years, and we hope you enjoy their story.
I came on board January 10th, 2010. Actually, January 1st, 2010, and then we went to this giant trade show called SHOT Show. It's in Vegas every year, once a year, and that's where like I kind of broke into it. I set up my office on January 1st, and then the 10th we went out to Vegas for this. When I say gigantic, I think they say that if you walk the whole show, it's 6 miles of walking. It is phenomenal.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's big. And it's everything to do with like, the tactical world. So guns, firearms, ammunition, and then they have a huge hunting section. So, from bow hunting to shotguns, waterfowl, like everything. It's all underneath one roof. And
yeah, wow. And so January 1st, 2010, you come on board with Tactical Distributors. You have the show. Now, was Tactical all wholesale at the time, or had they started to evolve into retail?
So a good friend of mine that during that kind of during the recession, and when I was really had a lot of time on my hands because we weren't doing a lot with Schmack, I had a good friend, Luke Hillier, and he was the CEO of a company called ADS, Atlantic Diving Supply, and they were a giant government contractor, and they had Tactical Distributors already set up. So what was happening was mom and pop stores, retail stores, were calling because they couldn't get set up with a brand because they didn't have the minimum order requirement to do it. So ADS was, set up with these brands because they were doing so much volume through the U.S. military, and they wanted to set up a separate company that could sell to these mom and pop stores. It was a just distributorship. And so they came up with Tactical Distributors. And then during that, they kind of realized that we could imagine having a e-commerce platform that could sell their products to just the onesies and twosies consumer. Because if a consumer called up ADS, they're a gigantic company, they wanted to buy a pair of boots or a jacket, they would ship them a pair of boots, and then if it didn't fit, it would come back, and then the customer service, like they wouldn't be able to, it's just one order, so it wasn't a focus for that company. So then, they would get lost in the shuffle, and they just weren't good at it. So they wanted to set up a company that's what their main focus was customer service and satisfying the individual needs.
Yeah, and that's in your mission statement on the website now. And so you started up the Tactical Distributors website. Now, was it you that kind of brought it into e-commerce then in 2010?
Yeah, so Luke had approached me and said, "Hey, Todd, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really have a job." I was kind of in the limbo, and he's like, "What do you think about setting up a website and doing this?" And really, kind of like any entrepreneur knows, like you have to wear all types of hats, right? You have to do production, you have
Oh yeah.
to do marketing. Marketing is like one of the key features. How do you get your product to market? And so I was pretty good at doing that. And what was really cool was I came into this new market that I didn't know anything about. So I had no preconceived notions on how it should work. So I kind of took my streetwear, what I'd learned in the streetwear industry, and applied it to tactical. And tactical has come a long way since then. But at the time, you would go to some of these websites and it looked like they were, set up on like Microsoft DOS. I mean, they were just horrible shopping experience. So we brought some
still are.
yeah, they are, and this is before, I think, MySpace. Facebook was just kind of coming on, and it was kind of the end of MySpace, and so the social media aspect was evolving. There wasn't a lot of competition in this space, and so I said, "Yeah, I'll take the job." And Jerry Sills at the time was running Tactical Distributors I think there was only three guys working at the time. And so I came on, and then Jerry and I together created an RFP for a website, and we did. I know that's what kind of TDM obviously wants to talk about websites and stuff. So we started on Magento. That was the platform that was emerging at that point in time.
Yeah.
It's pretty robust, but it wasn't so robust that we couldn't afford to start it. So we did an RFP, hired a company to build it, and kind of went from there. And had to select the products. And one advantage we had is that we had this giant engine of ADS, and so we could call it pretty much any vendor and go, "Hey, we would like to get set up with you guys and buy this." And anyone. Most people, they would be like, "No, we're fine. We don't need any online representation." But then when you say, "Hey, we're a subsidy of ADS," or we're owned by Dan Clarkson or Luke Hillier, they would go, "Oh yeah, no problem. What do you need?" And so that really helped us. It gave us an advantage of at least getting on board.
So they didn't want to sell to the individuals for the most part, right? Because they didn't want to handle the customer service issues.
Yeah.
So why did you guys think, okay, I want to handle these customer service issues?
We felt like there was a niche that needed to be filled, something where you could buy quality products more on the high end. I always say we're kind of the Barneys of the tactical world. There's a lot of other tactical e-commerce websites that are much bigger than us, do much more revenue. They service a lot more people, but the customer base that we went after from the beginning was this high-end tactical customer base that enjoyed quality product and quality brands and appreciated it for what it was. I can't tell you how many times we run an ad for an Arc'teryx leaf on Facebook or Instagram, and you get people commenting going, "I would never pay $700 for a jacket. I can go to Walmart and buy 30 jackets for that one jacket." And
right.
That's not our customer. They don't get the quality. They don't, for whatever reason, you get a lot of people, trolls or whatever you want to call them, just hating on the internet. And those are, that's just not our customer. Our customer wants, there's a saying that there's no bad weather, just bad gear.
Yep.
And that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah. And so you developed this Magento site. Had you had e-commerce experience with Schmack before that?
We did. We limited. I think we were on. Is it Big Cartel? Do you remember?
There's Big Commerce.
Or
and then,
Cartel Cart.
Yeah, that sounds right. Big.
So
I think you're right. Cartel Cart.
I think that's what we were on. We probably had maybe 100 SKUs at any given season, or I don't know, maybe 200. So it's I mean, it's night and day from where we are now. I mean, we have like, I think 8,000 SKUs now, or we kind of go back and forth between 8 or 9,000 SKUs. So I knew that we needed something much more robust than what I was used to at the time.
Yeah. And Magento was it at the time in 2010. And so what were, you start with this Magento site, and that started up in 2010, pretty shortly after you, you started with the company?
We launched June 1st. Yep.
Oh, so that's only 5 months, 6 months.
Yeah, we hit the ground running. I mean, Jerry and I mean, it was like college. We spent day and night, I mean, till like 1 o'clock in the morning, writing this RFP, bouncing it back and forth. I would write a draft, he would go back. So so we got it knocked out in a week. And it's funny, people to this day, they go, hey, I want to, because when you're kind of in the web business, you have friends and family or just people around you go, I want to start a web company. Let me, how do you do it? And the first thing I do is, I say is write a sound RFP. And most people don't even know what it means. And then when they go to write it, they write like a 1-page. And I tell them, like, you need to be as detailed as you can, because this is your blueprint and your contract for what you expect from the developers or whoever's building your website. And so we wrote a real comprehensive RFP for it.
Oh, wow. And so once it launches, do people come right away? Are you starting to get sales right away?
We sold, so there's this company called McNett, and they make all types of kind of ancillary products, accessories. And one of the things they make that military personnel really enjoy are these, I forget the name of it, but it's basically a mask that goes over your eyes so you can sleep at night, or you can sleep during the daytime and it blocks out the sun. So that was the first product that we sold, was this mask. And we had, these cool, badass flashlights. We had flash hiders for guns. We had all types of really cool stuff. And the first thing that we sold was this weird mask.
So was that your first day, your first week, your first month?
Yeah, that was the first week. I mean, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think the first 6 months we did like $100,000 in sales.
Wow.
And then, great. Yeah.
That's a good start.
It is, but we probably had $800,000 in inventory. I mean, we because we set ourselves up, like we built a whole warehouse. I mean, because we did all our fulfillment, so we had to get this space, built this warehouse, stock all the order the inventory, stock the inventory. We had to create an inventory management system, which was a nightmare. So we went from nothing to a full e-commerce company within 6 months.
So at that time, like, what's keeping you up at night? What are you focused on? Is it marketing? Is it figuring out the inventory situation? What's keeping you up?
Driving sales.
Yeah.
Looking at our weekly sales or our daily sales numbers coming in, and we didn't sell anything that day. And, we knew that based upon our overhead that we had to sell X amount of dollars a day or per month. And, we still look at that. I mean, even today we work off monthly sales, like what, year to date or comparable from last year. What are we selling at, or where are we at? And, that was keeping me up when we would have 0 days or we weren't hitting our numbers or that growth. I mean, the first several years, you are not, it's very difficult to be profitable, but we wanted to be profitable as soon as we could.
So is everybody patient then, or is everybody stressed out? What's everybody's mood at that point?
We were just thinking and trying to figure out how we could sell more. Like, that's what everyone did. And, we were a small team. We hired a customer service rep. We hired a graphic designer. And we were all loading parts. We had came up with the idea of selling on Amazon, to help subsidize kind of our site sales. So that was a full, we were manually importing all the products into Amazon. And I remember, working late nights doing that because we had some success and we're like, man, this thing works awesome. Let's keep doing it. And so we would, load UPC codes on Amazon all day and night. And and that really kind of helped subsidize our business at the time, because while our site was growing. Yep.
So that's kind of evolved, I imagine. Are you still on Amazon, and how much of that is a part of the business?
So we are. Over the time, Amazon is a double-edged sword for many reasons. And I like Amazon. I appreciate their business model. I shop on there. My wife shops on there a tremendous amount. But from a retail perspective, what we were finding out after about a year, so we would be I know you probably familiar with Amazon. I'm not sure that all the listeners would be, but so if there's not another seller selling the product on Amazon, and you're the first person to load it, you have a comparative advantage.
Sure.
Because there's you'll get the buy box. So we were the first of a lot of products on there, and what we noticed was these products that were selling great, all of a sudden, a few months down the road, Amazon was selling them direct. So then they were getting the buy box. And that was about, I think, I don't remember when Prime came about, maybe 2011 or 12. So then, we were getting beat all the time. And then what was happening, then more e-commerce or tactical e-commerce retailers were coming on, and the minimum advertised pricing set by the vendors, there's either none, the vendors weren't setting it, or they weren't, there was no teeth to their internet policies. So we were, there's guys working out of the basement undercutting the pricing on Amazon, and we just couldn't do it because we had so much overhead. So it wasn't worth us to only make 10% margin or 8% margin or whatever. It wasn't worth it to us selling on Amazon. So we were, at that time, we were buying for selling on Amazon, and then we would get stuck with inventory. So, and to this day, there's only a handful of brands that we're successful with on Amazon.
Okay. And so you've got to pay 15%, is that right, to Amazon?
It is, yep. And you have a monthly fee, but the bulk of it's the 15% monthly fee is pretty insignificant.
Yeah. And so if you're operating on thin margins, that's just not going to work out for a lot of different products. What else were you doing at the time to market the site?
So we were, there's some industry blogs. One of them is, there's a lot of really good ones, but kind of the blog that everyone, and you could be a general or you could be a CEO of a tactical company, you're reading it. It's called Soldier Systems Daily. Okay. And the gentleman who started it, Eric Graves, fascinating guy. He knows everybody and he's just an encyclopedia of the tactical industry. He actually lives very close to us. And we're located in Norfolk, Virginia. So we were friendly with him. I believe Jerry actually was advertising or planning on advertising before, because we wanted to support him. And he had just started his blog maybe a year or so prior to it. So we started advertising on that. He was a voice for us. And whenever we had new products or something to talk about, he would post it. He still does to this day. We've advertised them ever since. So that was one area. We Facebook at that time was really evolving and growing, and we were kind of an early adopter of that. So that was good until they kind of changed some of their logarithms and went to the pay-to-play model. But even then, now we advertise on there, and that's pretty good. It can be challenging sometimes with some of the products that we've gotten banned quite a few times or ads blocked.
Now, banned, is that because, so you don't sell any weapons, but you've got some images of weapons on your site. Is that kind of why you've gotten banned?
Well, weapons accessories too. And
okay.
So a lot of these tech companies, they're very ambiguous of what they'll allow and what they won't allow, as far as images or product listing ads. And Facebook's one of them. I mean, Facebook and PayPal are they're it's hard to, they really dictate what you can sell and what you can't sell. I mean, when it comes down to it, some people might not notice that because they don't touch any products that would be deemed inappropriate to sell on those channels or advertise on those channels. But we've felt it many, many times.
Yeah, so in 2011 or so, you're on Amazon, you're on Facebook, you're on that blog and that forum, and things are going well, I imagine. And are you growing at this point, adding on new employees?
We are. We were. I say, like, for the first 6 months, we did maybe 150,000 sales. In the next 6 months, I think the first year, and I can't remember exactly, but I would say it was like $1 million in sales. So we rapidly increased. Wow. And Amazon was a large part of that. While our margins weren't as good as they would be with our site, they were still bringing revenue in. They were turning over product. And then we would have to, we started getting, hire more guys or gals in the back, packing and shipping. And then, like, even to this day, during the holidays, everyone, and it doesn't matter who you are, we're in the back packing boxes and pulling orders. It's fun, and we like that, and I like that. So.
Yeah, that's how it is with a small company. You as one of the first people there, you're going to wear a lot of hats, and so sometimes that's packing up boxes.
Well, and you learn a lot then, right? Like. Oh yeah. When we're packing boxes, I get to see what people are ordering, how they're ordering, the combination of products they're ordering, and so I can take that back and look at how we're advertising or how we're buying. Maybe one of the things that we do is so all of our packages, the majority of the packages are branded with our brand on it. So creating the customer experience from when they order to them opening the box and doing the unboxing, and we put stickers in there, like our stickers or vendor stickers. We put promotional trifolds or flyers, and then we put Army Men. So
oh wow,
so every package gets 3 or 4 Army Men, little plastic Army Men that you got when you were a kid, and we've done that from day one. Yeah,
and whoever's buying, the kids are going to love it. Their kids are going to love this.
Or it differentiates you from the other companies out there. It's like a little calling card. People love it. They like, now we're running red, white, and blue. Like, we got those special made. We forever we did kind of the OD or the desert tan, and then now we got red, white, and blue ones. So that's pretty cool. I mean, we order them by the hundreds of thousands.
Oh wow!
Wow,
that's huge.
We go through a lot of them.
So, 2011, you're doing, you said about $1 million in 2011. Which is a huge increase from 100,000 over the 6 months of 2010. So you continue to grow. I mean, it couldn't have been all roses. What failures were there? Any particular problems that you had with the growth, and anything where you're like, oh, we really messed that one up?
I think the changing landscape of e-commerce, right? Like search and SEO, search engine optimization, how Google and Facebook and their advertising, what changed through that, where and I think the influx of competition in the marketplace for tactical, like, when the wars were rolling, a lot of company, when we were at Afghanistan and Iraq and people were fighting, there's a huge influx of people coming into the market trying to create businesses and make money. And so we were kind of in the middle of that, and we were one of them. But so then you started having more competition and how we're, one of the questions is always like, how are we separating ourselves from these other people through our brand selection and customer services? How we've always defined ourselves.
Yeah. And so some of those vendors that you have, are they coming on board too with starting to sell their own products online?
Like direct to consumer?
Yeah.
So some of them do and some of them don't. And typically the ones who do, like, they stick to the MSRP, which is typically higher than MAP, and we always adhere to MAP. And I don't feel them as a threat because, our customers coming to us because, one, we expedite the shipping. I mean, every shipment goes out. The majority of shipment, you have an option. So you can do USPS if it's under a pound, and that's $5, or you can do 2-day for $8.99, and that's basically depending on the weight. I mean, it starts at $8.99, and then overnight I think is $14.99, and so we're very competitive in that. Every order that comes in by 3:30, 4 o'clock our time gets shipped out that day.
Oh wow, that's fast.
Yeah, I mean, we really, I mean, in this, you can't go any slower. I mean, Amazon is building warehouses all over the country that they're going to eventually, I mean, I would assume that it's going to be same day shipping. I mean, you're going to order it that day, and I mean, they have it now, but I think it's going to be, on some products they have it now, but eventually I think everything you're going to want to buy on Amazon, you're going to be able to get that day.
Yep.
So we've got to do, compete with that.
Yep. And so, you said you started out on Magento. Your site is not Magento now; it's on Shopify. When did you guys make that move?
So we made it a couple years ago. Magento had become so expensive to operate. I mean, you probably know, but you've got to have dedicated servers for it. You have to have. We had an in-house developer, and we had a company that was developing as well, because any change you wanted to make to Magento took heavy development. It wasn't like Shopify with plug and play apps, so to say. I mean, so to speak. I mean, it's not exactly like that, but it's fairly simple to implement most of the applications you get. And Magento was not that way. I mean, it was very robust, and we were on an older version, and to upgrade, we kind of had to do a redesign because a lot of the stuff we had was custom. And so we just felt like, hey, we saw we could have a cost savings, and we felt like we could have a better site. So we just went with Shopify. Okay.
And so was that pretty easy transition going from Magento to Shopify?
No, absolutely not. I mean,
okay.
And even that we thought we had it dialed in, we didn't. And that's where, when we consulted TDM, we quickly realized we should have had you guys or someone to help us migrate the website in the right way for SEO. And we didn't. And so, it looked like everything was running smooth. I mean, the whole process was very difficult. Transitioning all the content from one site to the next, you'd think it's going to be easy, but it's not. A lot of products got messed up. They were missing, we're talking 8,000 products or whatever, 6,000, I can't remember at the time, but we were missing product images, we were missing product descriptions. Some of the inventory management system got screwed up with bin locations. I mean, there was just a lot that got mixed up, and we had to go back through many times to fix it.
Yeah,
all the inventory and all the images.
And then the redirects issue. So you've got 8,000 products. Well, that means you've got what, like 10,000 pages or 20,000 pages or something like that. Yep. And that's 20,000 redirects that need to be properly done. And any sort of redesign, any sort of replatforming is never going to be one-to-one where you've got this page automatically goes to this page and it's perfect throughout the entire process. And so what do you do with all the all the URLs that just don't quite match up? Do you soft 404 them? And this is just getting into some SEO jargon. But yeah, that can be a challenge, and you can lose a lot of rankings if the replatforming is not handled properly.
And we lost a lot, a tremendous amount. And you guys kind of came in, helped identify the issues. We created a strategy that we're still implementing to this day on it. We've done a lot of the majority of the work for that. But, I mean, you guys, we didn't realize it. We just were like, man, what's going on? Our Google ranking continually every month keeps dropping. Site traffic keeps dropping. And we just didn't have the capacity. We're, running other things. And I'm not an SEO aficionado. I have very limited understanding of it. But then
running a business.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of things to do.
Learning. I'm learning.
Yeah. I mean, with you running the business, you've got so much to do. You can't be an expert at everything. That's for sure. And so, now you're you're back on track with rankings, and you're able to do AdWords. And it sounds like you took a step back, but the business has continued to grow. Is that right?
It has. Yep. We're growing. We've got some nice growth. We had nice growth last year. We're knock on wood. It looks like we're growing this year. Some of the there's some key brands that we're really had some tremendous growth with, and then
including your own. Is that right?
You're right. Yep, that's right. We have our in-house brand. It's called TD Apparel.
So continuing with improving with SEO and paid search, and you've got whatever you're selling on Amazon, the growth of your own brand. It sounds like there's a lot going on there. I mean, how do you see Tactical continue to grow, and where do you see it in let's say 5-10 years from now?
I mean, there's a lot of runway. We've got a lot. We're just barely tapping the market, and I think that you kind of see. So we might have been a little early. I feel like just overall landscape of things is that there's this weird relationship between, there's a relationship between outdoors. So let me back up for a second. 95% of our customers are men, and that 5% of women are probably buying for the men in their lives. And because all we sell is men's stuff. And, and I think like me personally, 41, I came from the fashion industry and then, I was all into fashion, what I was wearing, and it wasn't about function, it was about looks. And over the past, I'd say, since I started here, what I purchase and how I purchase has drastically changed. I think that's kind of happening everywhere. Like it's less about what you look like and more about what your experience is. And
right.
Our family, we live pretty modestly, but we want to have experiences. So we take a lot of trips. We have a lot of interest, from hunting to spearfishing to surfing, all these different things that we do. And that's what kind of our website embodies. And so where I feel like the growth is, to kind of full circle, is that, we want to cater to men who do man shit, men shit. That's what we say. Like we do men shit. And so it could be, guys who work professionally, who protect our country, or serve on the streets and protect the communities. Or it could be, then when they get off, they like to go do CrossFit, or they do jujitsu, or they hunt, they, shoot guns on the weekend. And that's where, we want to kind of fit in and be a solution, a gear solution for them.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're right. There is a lot of runway left. Well, this has been great. I think we covered pretty much everything. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with Tactical?
No, I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to get on here and to be invited to y'all's podcast. I mean, it's very flattering. We've had other companies do it. We've had in-house people do it. And so far, working with you guys about a year now, y'all have been the best solution that we've gotten the most results from, which,
Well, we certainly appreciate that, Todd. For you listeners out there, we hope you enjoyed learning about Tactical Distributors. And of course, if you're looking for any tactical gear, head on over to tacticaldistributors.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on My Digital Story.